should, at the very least, be among the strategies employed to solve them. In more simple terms, we cannot effectively solve climate change, reduce disaster risk, or mitigate their negative consequences if our actions are not born out of an equal regard to both women and men. Women cannot and should not be sidelined because they do not only have equal stakes in these concerns with men, but they also possess half the power needed for us to win over this crisis. Thus, for us government leaders, the challenge is to adopt gender-responsive leadership. This means leading and serving by crafting and implementing gender-sensitive legislations, programs, and services. With this brand of leadership and service, and with the equally strong commitment of non-governmental organizations to gender equality, we will be able to make significant headways in dealing with the challenges of climate change and disaster risk reduction. Experts agree that the poorest people in the poorest country will suffer the most from the negative effects of climate change. In any country, rich or poor, the members of the most economically challenged sector are also the most vulnerable to disasters. Thus, in the purest sense of leadership and service, gender-sensitive legislations, policies, and programs, particularly on climate change and disaster risk reduction, need to be crafted based on the needs and interests of the poor. If we were to win over the challenges of climate change and disaster risk, our gender-oriented strategies need to have pro-poor focus. After all, the ability of the poorest citizens of the world to survive these challenges is the only true measure of the effectiveness of our actions and the success of our efforts. In this Congress, we will identify and define the action agenda for parliamentarians, policy advocates, and women leaders in support of national and global efforts toward the adaptation of gender-responsive legislation and programs specifically on climate change and risk reduction. This will illustrate our conviction on gender equality and our commitment to save the environment. And as this action agenda will be the product of our shared insights, knowledge, and experiences, this will also mirror the strength of collective or unified actions in addressing global problems. We all know that the true value of the agenda that we will identify and define in this Congress rests on our ability to effectively implement the needed actions. If our gender-responsive brand of leadership is needed for us to craft legislation, policies, and programs, we need the same brand of leadership to effectively implement them. This requires pooling the strength of all members of the affected communities and societies and inspiring the conduct of actions that are specific to both men and women. This is a serious concern, but it is not terminal yet. These are huge problems. They are not insurmountable. Collective efforts will give us the strength. Gender sensitivity will light up our path, and gender responsive leadership will lead our ways. With this, we can win over those challenges. We can save Mother Earth, and we can preserve and essentially enrich life. On behalf of the members of the Philippine House of Representatives, I again welcome you to this Congress. And just as we in the House of the Representatives of the 14th Congress of the Republic of the Philippines have committed themselves. Oh. I think it's saying I should stop. But we will first commit ourselves to legislative reforms that will make our institution a true house of the Filipino people. I assure you of our commitment to gender-responsive legislation, particularly on the matters of climate change and disaster risk reduction. We know, as we strongly believe, that such gender-responsive pieces of legislation are among the genuine services we ought to give to our people, because they are what Filipinos deserve, and they are what we need to contribute as citizens of the world. Thank you very much, and mabuhay.